You don't realize how much you miss something until it isn't there anymore. You know? And the problem is that it's been my practice in the last year or so that I write a sermon and don't use any notes, depending on, I need that box to open up, you know, because that's part of my brain back there. So, yeah, we'll do that. That's it, too. This is an aha moment. This is a moment of epiphany of a child. This could be your moment. But the statement that it makes is there's an understanding that's just happening that wasn't there before. That it's like the light bulb came on. Anybody ever have one of those light bulb come on moments? I'm sure we all have. And when it did come on, sometimes what you want to do is beat yourself up a little bit like, wow, well, how did I miss that? We're going to talk a little bit this morning about the natures of God, because we talked about, you listen to the Ephesians text, and if you heard it real carefully, you heard Paul talking about the revelation that came to him, the mystery of the faith. This was that the faith is, that salvation is not just for the Jews, it's for the Gentiles. It's for the Gentiles, and this mystery was revealed to him. That's when Paul, and we know Paul's story. We know about his aha moment on the Damascus Road. He had one. Abraham had an aha moment about his faith when God spoke to him. And this morning, you know, that we call this Epiphany Sunday because we celebrate the fact that that it's been made known to the world now that salvation is for everyone. Everyone. Paul will say it again and again and again. That in Christ there is no Jew, no Gentile, no male, no female, no slave, nor free, nor nothing. The playing field has been leveled. In Christ we are all the same. It doesn't matter who you are. And it's a big revelation for a period of time that there was such a distinction and class of people. And you were according to, what you were was according to your class, your status. So we see this child having this aha moment, and I think about the aha moments that have come to me in my time, and I was going to tell you one about something that happened just this morning. That as I was walking, the first time I had been pulled over by the police walking to church. It could happen. It did happen. Actually, he just wanted an answer to a question. Did I hear those gunshots? And I dismissed him. I thought, no, I didn't hear any gunshot. But, I didn't hear it. And it wasn't 5 minutes later as I continued walking, there was two that went off down towards the corner back there. And I was hoping that was a muffler backfiring, but I knew better. And I don't know what it was. And I don't know if somebody had me taught to practice. But see, that's an aha moment. The first time I dismissed it. Then you hear the shots and you think, you need to pray for somebody or something. So we have these, and you never know when they're coming at you. It just happens. It just happens. I think about when I was a child, and I had a radio on those things, and I also had a transistor radio. 5 transistor radio. It was a really good one. But my childhood, and I look back and I think on it now that God was preparing me when times that I didn't even think about it. But I was ate up with listening to radio evangelists, and I had Catherine Kuhlman and Robert Fuller and Oral Roberts, and the list goes on and on and on, and you can listen. And so whenever I wasn't doing anything, which was when you're a kid, that's a whole lot of time, I was listening to these evangelists, and I couldn't believe each one of them. They'd have something similar happen on each one of them. They'd be talking to somebody, and it would be somebody that say, "Well, I give my life to Christ," but I really didn't. I professed my faith, but it didn't. It wasn't until this point in my life that it really became clear to me, and I fully turned myself over to God. And I thought, how can that be? How can that be? That doesn't make any sense to me. What do you mean? You did, but you didn't? And then later on, things start to come to you a little bit clearer. There's a person named John Wesley. You've probably heard of him. John Wesley and his Aldersgate experience, that he had gone to Georgia in the United States to Savannah, Georgia. He was such a holy person. 3 hours a day they got together, read scripture, studied, and all this. And people used to make fun of him at Oxford because this society was so weird, because that's all they want to do is live a holy life. And so they picked John to go to the New World to see what was going on in Savannah, Georgia. He falls in love. The person he falls in love with marries another person. Yeah, it was sad. It was sad. He goes back to England. But on the trip over, the Moravians, you've heard me mention them before, the Moravians, and the storm at sea and all this, and John was this holy man chosen for this job because he was so pious, such a reverent person. And the Moravians, when the storm would rage, they'd just sing a little louder. They were singing songs, so quiet, so peaceful. And John asked them later on, he said, where did that come from? And what the Moravian leader said to him kind of stuck with him. Do you profess a faith in Jesus Christ? Well, yes, I do. What's the problem? That's all they said. And it ate at him, and ate at him, and ate at him. And he said he knew at that moment his words were like nothing. His words meant nothing. So he goes back to England, and he has his older experience. He's listening to someone read an introduction to the book of Romans, Luther's introduction to the book of Romans. And he says, at that moment, he knew he had another epiphany, an aha moment. I knew God loved me, even me. And now, all this holy, pious man that had been living a life for Christ for years, now he realizes he's saved. And I thought, how could that be? And it dawned on me as I was reading this just the other day again, and I've read this story 50 times, and I still, sometimes I struggle with it. And it makes me realize that our faith is a journey, and we move from here to here, and we're never really on the solid ground that we always think that we are, that when those life events come at you, they start shaking the foundation of your faith, you wonder. And so we see fear, and how we are driven by fear and moved by fear. And our lives are kind of ruled by those things that come into it that shake us up a little bit. And our foundation of our faith, even to somebody like John Wesley, who was chosen for this event because of his faith, it's shaken up. We read the story of the wise men, the Magi, that came to see Herod, who seen the star in the heavens. The Magi at one time, you go back to Daniel and the Persians told us that at first the Persian educated were good at interpreting dreams. But now that's moved even a little bit past that. Now they said they are astronomers and astrologers that see stars and see cosmic events in the skies, and they know something major has happened. And so they jump on their transports and they ride to Jerusalem where Herod is. And they get there and they want to see and know where the person is that is responsible for all this stuff that's going on in the heavens. We've seen his star rising. We've come to pay him homage. And Herod is afraid. And he should be. Herod is one of those despots, and there's more than one Herod. There's Herod the Great. There was Herod Antipater, who was before him, his father, and there's one after him that will be the one when Jesus comes back, when the family comes out of Egypt in verse 22 of Matthew 2. When he comes back, Archelaus, his son, Jesus moves on to Nazareth because he doesn't want to settle in a place. One is worse than the other. More desperate men there never was. Ruthless killers. It was said of Herod the Great that you'd be better off being his pig than you would his son. You stood a better chance of living. That's pretty bad. Herod was mean, but Herod knew what he was doing. Herod was so good at pitting the Romans against the Jews. and knowing how to play both of those cards, because he was neither. Actually, he was Jewish, that swore alliance to the Romans, and said he was Roman, who swore alliance, and then when he needed to, he could play either card. And he was a great builder. Herod the Great was, the reason he got his name Great is because of the things he did. First, one of the things he built was a Jewish temple. The other thing that he built was a fortress called Masada. Anybody heard of that one? Yeah. And Caesarea Maritima. That's Herod's work. Great builder, a great person, a great leader who knew how to abuse people in ways that weren't so great. But the wise men come to him fearlessly. And you have to look at this. They're coming to a person and ask him, because this Herod the Great was made king of the Jews in 40 BC by the Roman Council. That's his title. And three wise men from the east come up and say, where's the king of the Jews, Herod? That won't gain them any points. It's got to scare him. Fear. The Magi story, the way that it's told, has an adult version and it has a child version. The version that we normally get is the child version, the one that says that the king showed up at the same time with the angels and the same time with the shepherds, and this idyllic scene right here. But we know that that's a synthesis of Luke and Matthew, not exactly the way that it happened. When Matthew says when they came to his house, so by now they're living in a house in Bethlehem, and it's Bethlehem of Judea to discern itself from the other Bethlehem, so they know where it's at. And the Magi want to know where this is, how is this taking place? And so they quote the prophets, Samuel, Micah. They know where he's at, and the star is still in the sky. But the adult version of this is what happens, what's really going on in human psyche, wanting to know why, the real why that Herod wants to know where Jesus is born. Not so he can go and pay homage to him also. We know the rest of the story. So that he can put him to death. He doesn't get the job done this time, but it will happen later on, 33 years later or so. Fear. Fear. Fear makes us do some really strange things. Fear can keep us up all night long, but faith makes one find pillow. You see the quote there, Matthew 21:21. This is where Jesus comes into Jerusalem and the story of him coming into Jerusalem and the fig tree. And he says, "Listen, you will do more than this. Greater things than this. You'll be able to say to the mountain, go into the sea. If your faith is strong enough, God will grant you whatever it is that you ask for in prayer. If you have strong enough faith." The fear of what is going to happen to us is where we're at right now. We've got the same situation. You could pick up what went on then and put it down right now and see the same thing going on. We are starting to do things out of fear that we wouldn't have thought we needed to do 20 years ago. What do we need to do now? Build more gates for our communities. More police department, more people carrying guns, more people doing all the things that we would normally not think about, but it seems to be necessary because we're reacting to somebody else reacting out of fear. We've got people that go into movie theaters and kids and shoot them up because they don't know, can't tell the difference between right and wrong. Psychologically, we don't know what's going on there. We've got other kids, our children, that have had enough with the way that we do things. They want to go try something else in somebody else's religion, somebody else, the way that they do. And we'll start off by seeing how many people we can kill. And we're afraid. We're fearful. And we don't know really where to start. We don't know where to start. But we do know that we're afraid. That's the one thing that we can just bank on. The Magi bring gifts to the king. Not to Herod, but gifts to the king. Gold and frankincense and myrrh, and we've attached a whole lot of theology to the meanings of these gifts, but gifts nonetheless. They're gifts that show honor to a person that is King of the Jews, that is born King of the Jews. And usually a sermon on the Magi asks the same question as to, now what gifts do you bring to the table? Now that you recognize that this gift, that Christ is your King. I was thinking about this the other day, how we could best illustrate this. And I thought that might just be the way that we would do this. That when we go back and think about these epiphany moments, these aha moments that we have as we're sitting here in church and we're looking for God to speak to us in different ways, and we've all had them and know what they feel like and know the nudgings and whatever. There was somebody who said that there was they made aware of a family at Christmas time. And when I asked her about what was going on, she said, it was almost the day, and she said that I was sitting on my couch, and all of a sudden it was like, well, hello, what are you going to do? And she got up and went to the store and bought stuff and left it on the, I don't even know what that is. What is that, dude? Is that just the front porch, or what is it?
It looks like it might have been a driveway at some time.
Yeah.
There.
A family living in a house where you shouldn't even be living in. But this is the aha moments that we're looking for. The Magi, the story of the Magi should tell us, inform us. It should tell us that God is still speaking, that through these aha moments, that there's ways for us to work in the world. How terrible this would be if we didn't think God was speaking anymore. When we listen to the news every evening, when we read the newspaper, when we go on the internet and we start thinking about all the problems in the world, do we ask ourselves, where is God speaking? Where's the light bulbs that Jan talked about? Where are they coming on at? Who's turning them on? Who's listening? Who's paying attention to what's going on? As we start down this road in 2016, and we want to know what the church should do and where we should go, this story should resonate with us every Sunday that we're here. What is God calling us to do? We're getting ready to take communion in a little bit. Every time we take communion, we do this in remembrance of the one who was born. Once again, he manifests himself to us. He feeds us in the form of bread and wine. Why? We come in adoration, bring him gifts of ourselves. This is the only thing that we are asked to do, is to give ourselves in faith to Christ. That's it. That's all we're asked to do. And in return, God will give you those moments, those aha moments that come to you, that speak to you, that allow you to do what God asked you to do. I hope that I'd like to hear about them, your epiphany stories. Send me an email, tell me about them. Your moment that you had when God spoke to you in a particular way. When God asked you to do something, and how you responded. These are testimonies the church needs to hear, so that we know and can see that God is still working in this community, in this body of faith, right here, right now, in this year. Let's come together in that way, encouraging each other, lifting each other up. Paul had his moment. Abraham had his moment. The Magi had their moment. I've had my moment. And I know you have too. Listen to God. Thanks be to God.